How y'all doing? Good. Yeah? Hey, as Rachel was doing that announcement about marching in the parade or walking in the parade, I'm thinking, I want to ride. I don't know about you. So if you guys don't want to walk in the parade, I don't know how long it is, how many miles it might be. But if you want to ride, just show up, and I'll make sure we get a ride in the parade. All right. So anyway, hey, I've been told that more and more people are starting to come to church here, and of course that's a great thing. So how many people have never really heard me preach before? So get your hand. How many? You? Anybody else? Are you it? No one else wants to admit it? Okay. All right. When I tell people, you are in for something. Okay? I don't know what that something is, but it's something. Okay? So just kind of hang in there. Glad that you're here. And I also heard that across this country, in the last number of months, so many churches, more and more people are coming. And I'm not sure, obviously God's at work, but what is accounting for all that? But we're so glad for that, and hopefully it'll just continue, and there will be a movement across this country, across this world. So here's my question for you this morning. We get going, and that is, how is your heart this morning? How is your heart? And what is the one word to best describe your heart? Here you have to tell me, what would be the one word? And you say, well, I'm not sure. I never thought about that before. But would you say it's full, empty, maybe numb, perhaps fearful, settled, content, unsettled, discontent? I mean, what do you think? And trying to get in touch with the inner person, because this series is on head, heart, hand. It's a discipleship series. And all of those three, I would focus on the heart as being central. So this morning, the sermon title is Living from a Guarded Heart, out of Proverbs chapter 4. It reads like this. It says, guard your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. So, point one, guard the heart. And I'll just put in here, from impurity, from ungodliness, from sin, even from temptation. Just guard your heart. Now, that's a full-time job, and that's why I said, with all diligence, always guard your heart. That's what we're called to do. Pastor Stephen put it this way last week in regard to the heart. He says it's the inner control center of your life, the place where your emotions, affections, desires, and will to converge to direct everything that you do. Quite a statement. I think he's absolutely right. Hear those words, desires and will. So here's my question. Another question. What do you want? What do you want out of life? If there's one thing, primary thing, what would it be? I mean, do you know? Are you centered enough? Here again, well, I want a lot of things. I would say, well, really you want one primary thing, and all those other things are here to support or get you to that primary part. So the one thing, what is my heart really after? Does it desire? And you go, and if you don't know, you're just going around dazed and confused, bouncing off of things, somewhat frustrated, somewhat unfulfilled, big question marks. I don't know what this is all about. I'm just trying to make ends meet, trying to pay my bills and stay out of jail. I mean, maybe it's just that. But here's the thing. Your life is in pursuit of your primary desire, meaning it's going in that direction whether you know it or not. That's why it's good to know what's going on in there. You may not get there, but your heart's trying to move you there. Your heart, or you could say your soul, is full of desire. What is it primarily? You may not do anything to get there, but most of us will do many things to get there. Often we'll cut corners. Let me ask you something. Have you ever known something was wrong, you shouldn't do it, but you did it anyway? Anybody? How about everybody, right? We've all done that. Well, I know I shouldn't, and I look to my left, look to my right, no one's looking around, and so I think I'm going to do it anyway. And then you get to thinking, why did I do that? I mean, I knew better. What's going on in here? Why do we do things that sometimes doesn't make any sense? Or maybe put it another way, why do I do stupid stuff? If you haven't asked yourself that question, if you're married, your spouse is, why did you do such stupid stuff? Weren't you thinking? And you're going, I don't think I was. I don't think I was thinking, because if I was thinking, I wouldn't have done that, but I did it, so I must not have been thinking. I don't know what's going on in here. Basically, your heart wasn't in alignment with your morality when you do things that you know are wrong. And so, desire will overcome discipline. So what you really want will often overcome what you think or what you know you should or you shouldn't do. But you do it anyway, and you know you're going to pay a price of some kind, but you pay it anyway, then you feel bad about it. Then I'm never going to do that again, but then you do it again. And that often makes up our lives. So something deep is going on within. Explains a lot. So be aware of your what I call your number one desire in life. Adjust if needed, and everyone needs heart adjustment. Guard your heart accordingly. Never become so what I call busy and distracted you fail to pay attention to what's going on within. It's easy to do that. It's so very easy. I go, here again, we all do it at times. Be careful of how busy that you are. And don't let busyness be a distraction of paying attention to the most important thing. Now, guarding your heart or guarding anything is defensive in nature. But you can't win just by being defensive. I mean, there's a game going on here pretty soon, and probably a lot of you tune in, and that's fine. But you don't win in games, you don't win in life by only being defensive. There has to be an offensive component there. Someone said, what, the best defense is a good offense, or maybe a best offense is a good, I don't know. I just know they work together. And you need both. So here we're told to guard the heart from, in order we can be guarding the heart for. It says, for from it flow the springs of life. So you guard it from impurity, so something great happens. For from it flow what? These spring, this life, it gushes out. There's so much life, you can't contain it within. Oftentimes we call it enthusiasm. How much enthusiasm, and I say enthusiasm for the things of God, are contained within. And if you're enthusiastic about anything, it flows out. Often we want to tap into what gets you motivated, what gets you excited, what can you talk into the wee hours in the morning about because you're so there. A couple of states ago, we were next door neighbors to a lady who went to Indiana State University. Now, who's the big basketball player who used to play for Indiana State? Larry Bird, yeah. And she was a tall lady. She says, yeah, I went out with Larry Bird a few times. And I'm going, that's incredible. I go, what's Larry Bird like? You know what she said? Boring. He's boring. All he thinks about, all he talks about is, guess what? Basketball. Right. So she goes out with Larry Bird, but he's more interested in telling her about basketball than he is going out with her, so they didn't go out for very long. But see, he's all out and probably still all about basketball. But your heart is all about here. It's about something. So we guard it from the bad things so we can all be about what we'd call the good things. And so let me just address that in a few ways here this morning. So we want to guard the heart for courage. Guard your heart from, so you can guard the heart for, from impurities, from sin, so your heart can be full of courage. Here's Psalm 31, a verse there. It says, be strong. Let your heart take courage. Or in Joshua 1, it says it a few times there in Joshua chapter 1, but have I not commanded you? God's asking. And get it that God commands, God doesn't suggest, God never asks. He makes commands because he's God, and God can do that, and that's exactly what he does. He says, have I not commanded you? You be strong, Joshua, and courageous. Don't tremble, don't be scared. Here's why. God says, I'm with you. That makes all the difference in the world. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, what I fear no evil, for thou art with me. That's why. It's not because I'm such a tough guy, or I have a big army, or I have the latest weaponry. It's because you are with me. God, since you are with me, what do I have to be scared about? So put in a heart of courage. I mean, Joshua, he's taken over for Moses. Imagine that. I mean, how can you match Moses? He's been leading the nation of Israel for some decades now. Pretty much did a good job, as far as I can tell. Not perfect. And he just died, so Joshua's stepping in, and he's going to take them across the river Jordan. He's going to take the Israelites into the promised land. And they've never been over. They're not sure what's going to happen. Looks like there's some bad people live over there, and you may have some run-ins with some really evil people. You may go to battle, Joshua. Oh, and so there's a lot of fear and trepidation. Let me tell you something, though. Courage is not the absence of fear, but it's not allowing fear to control you. That's what our courageous heart does. You can still be scared, but fear doesn't keep you from doing what God has called us to do or doing what you know is right. It seems like every time before I get up to preach, someone asks me, say, are you ready? My answer is always the same. Nope. I'm not ready. I'm still working through things. Are you nervous? Yeah. Don't look nervous, but I am. I'm a little better now since I started, because no one has acted up or thrown things at me, so I'm better. But there's still that going on there. You've heard of this phrase, the paralysis of analysis? Yeah, meaning that you're basically so scared of making a decision that you do nothing. Or I need to think about this more. I need to get some advice. I need to dive deep into research. I need to pray more and hear from God. And oftentimes the decision that they're making is not life and death or a matter of national security. It's just a decision. But they're so scared of making the wrong one and so that they do nothing, which basically oftentimes is the worst thing you could possibly ever do. Sometimes, and maybe this isn't right, I go, make a decision. I don't care if it's wrong. Just make a decision. We'll learn from the mistake, and then we'll know better what the right one is to do. Sometimes in my life, that's exactly how it's worked out. I've made wrong decisions, But I wouldn't have known what the right one was unless I had made the wrong one. Now I go, well, that's not it. That didn't turn out well. Okay, now I know better. That's part of my research. Listen, I never try to make mistakes. I just do at times. And I've gotten to become comfortable with the mistakes that I've made because I have learned that over life, that's when I often learn best. And if I wouldn't have done it, I wouldn't have learned anything at all. And so there's this place, and so they're so scared, but often what they're scared of is, what are people going to think about me if I make a mistake? Tell me, what are you going to think about me if I make a mistake? What you going to think? Get him out of here. Or you're going to think, well, you know what? He's just a normal guy. It's all right. He didn't try to. I mean, he's not the smartest guy around, but he didn't mean to. He meant well. He goofed up. Welcome to the club of humanity. We just do that. I could tell you, I could probably go on for hours about all the things that I've done that aren't right. I just hit a few. I just say a few. So one day I put the garage door up, right, remote control, and I back up. Here's the problem. Kaboom. I looked in my rearview mirror. I couldn't see the garage door, so I thought it went all the way up. Oh, no. About halfway up. Kaboom. That's great. I remember one time my wife had to take her car in to get it worked on, so she says, look, I'm going to be parked a ways behind you, but remember my car's there, and you back out of the garage. Guess what? Kaboom. One day we were having a cookout. I get the grill fired up, grilling stuff. My wife comes out, shouldn't you pull the grill away from the house? I did, only to find out half our siding had curled up. I think she's thinking, what have I got myself into, right? What is wrong? I go, I don't know. I really don't know. Now, those aren't necessarily like immoral decisions. Those are just, I was preoccupied. My mind was somewhere else. And so we can kind of maybe excuse those, but there are some other things going on sometimes that are more serious than just that. I don't want to do something wrong, but sometimes we just do. Can I say something? Stop playing it so safe. You've probably been told and heard this phrase, better to be safe, sorry. Yep. I call that every mother's motto, right? Some fathers, but moms, you are like programmed. Better be safe than sorry. I mean, I'm going to tattoo you. Better be safe than sorry. I mean, just so you get it through. Better be safe than sorry. And there's some wisdom to that. Don't take unnecessary chances. Did you know that if you're at least age 21, it's a miracle you're still alive, right? Of all the goofy stuff we did as kids. And mom's sitting there, better to be safe than sorry. Let me add this angle. Don't be sorry that you played it so safe. So there's that, and then there's this. I've been told that as we get old, not that I am old, but as we get old, I'm not old, but as we get old, often we regret not what we did, but what we didn't do. And often now it's too late for certain things. We're no longer able to rewind and have that opportunity again. And boy, I wonder what would have happened if only I would have, but I didn't. I want to encourage you to live courageously. I'm not saying be reckless, throw all caution. I wouldn't say that. But here's the question. What would you do if you weren't scared? What would you do? How would life be different? What decisions would you make? What calculated, God-given risks would you take? Would you go on the next missions trip? Not that everyone should go on the missions trip, but do you not go because you're scared? What if something happens? What if I don't get along with the people going with me? What if nobody likes me? What if I can't raise support? What if we get across the border and whatever country we're in, they take away our passports and visa and they get me? And what if the natives are restless? And what if all these things happen? Oh, I think I'm just going to stay right here. What would happen if you didn't play it so safe all the time? For every prayer for Savile mercies and Savile travel safety, I would love to hear 10 prayers for courage. Yeah, we don't want anything bad to happen, but more important than safety is courage. So you go prepared to have maximum impact on the people when you're there and what you're doing. Have the courage, don't hold back to do what God has called you to do. Here, if you weren't so scared, would you financially give sacrificially? Because some people are so scared because they think, I don't have enough money now, and if I give it away, I'll be in a worse state, so I'm going to hold on to it right here, and I'm not going to be a sacrificial giver. Would you encourage your high school senior son or daughter to attend university out of state? Would you encourage them to attend the Waikiki Bible College and major in underwater evangelism? Would you? No, I want them really. I don't want them more than 100 miles from home because something might happen. If you weren't so scared, would you tell someone about Christ? I don't know what the statistics are, but probably a good 80 to 85% of Christians will never have an evangelistic conversation with even one other person their entire life. A lot of that has to do with fear. I don't know what to say. I don't know what questions they may ask me. I may not know the answer. What if they mock me, ridicule my faith? I'm not sure how I would handle that. And boy, I don't want to be a bad witness, so I guess I won't be one at all. I tell folks, look, if your faith is kind of not where you want, if it's gone kind of dormant or underground, you want to know how to prime that pump? Go tell someone about Christ. That'll change things really quick. I said this last Friday, I was in a situation and I'm with this guy and he says, my mother is a Buddhist. She's down in Chicago, she's a Buddhist. And he's going on about that. And I said, well, are you a Buddhist or are you a Christian? Or he goes, well, actually, I'm agnostic. You know, an agnostic is someone who really hasn't made up their mind. They're not saying there is a God. They're not saying they're not an atheist. They're not saying there isn't. I'm sort of like this. So we went a little further in the conversation about that. But you know what? It kind of, primes the pump of my heart. Would you do what you know is right and leave the results to God if you weren't scared? It seems like some folks, they get locked in and say, well, if I do this, and I believe it's of God, but if I do this, well, then this might not happen, or that could happen, and I don't want that, and so I'm going to try to control the outcome, and I'm not going to do what God tells me to do because I don't want this and that to happen. Here, a real simple principle of life: do what's right. Always do what's right. Always leave the results to God. They call that faith. Please, please, please. You can simplify a lot of your decisions in life. Just do what's right and leave the rest to Him. He'll take care of the details. So guard your heart for courage, which will enable you to what I call live large. Live large is living apart from the control of fear. To me, it's the only real way to live. Do not live the short time you have on this earth living it small. Don't do that. I don't think that's what God calls us to do. He says you have a heart of courage. Why? So you can live large. Maybe someday I'll get into it more, but shortly before I graduated high school, I decided I was going to live large. Now, every now and then there are consequences to living large, but I'd rather face them than the consequences of living small. Whatever living large means to you, without fear, without the control of fear, I would suggest do it. You will not regret it. Guard your heart for courage because you're going to need it for what comes next. The third thing is this: guard your heart for love. Here's 1 Peter 1, incredible verse. It says to what? Fervently love one another from the heart. Fervently. Fervently, basically, with all you got to give. Love one another, each other, from your heart. That's what we're to do. The most important thing in life is love. There isn't a close second. That should be the number one desire of all of our hearts. I think Jesus talked about that. To live but not love is to get an F in life. Don't get an F. Don't flunk life. And then I would ask, so what grade do you give yourself when it comes to love? You might say this: well, it depends. It depends if you're talking about my spouse, my kids, my parents, co-workers, that weird kid in class that has about zero social skills, who's awkward, who's always by him or herself. That person, yeah, that person. The person that needs a friend. Well, I don't know. How about the people who think differently than we? Or does everyone get the same grade? How about someone you disagreed with? Even your concept of Christianity is not theirs. And you did this, and all of a sudden, I'm done loving them. Forget it. Here's a passage that messes with me. See if it messes with you as well. Out of Matthew chapter 5. It says this. Jesus says, you've heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. There's everybody saying, yep, that's it. That's the way to live. Jesus said, no. I said to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. And they're going, what? That's nuts. Love my enemies? So, I don't know if you have any enemies or not. How well do you love them? Maybe they're not an enemy, maybe someone you just would rather never see again the rest of your life. Or a prayer answered for you would be if they get hit by a bus. We just often don't do very well on loving people we don't agree with. Our values are different. Maybe our political views are different. Maybe we interpret Scripture different, come to different conclusions. Or we don't agree on who knows what it might be. But it's so easy then to minimize. Maybe we say hi, maybe we don't. Maybe we smile, maybe we don't. But we know that in our heart, I have no intention of loving them. Have you ever had a thought, if I see so-and-so in heaven one day, it won't be so heavenly? Yeah. I'm going to get worked up. If they're coming down the street of gold and I'm coming down, I see them coming, I'm crossing over to the other side of the street, right? Oh, that's not much of a heaven. So I say this, until we learn to love our enemies, we have a lot to learn about love. I don't know about you, but I have a lot to learn about love. So we're to have a heart of purity and a heart of courage in order to love all people, all the time. Jesus continues in Matthew 5. He says, if you just love those who love you, so what? Anybody can do that. Everybody does that. It doesn't take God or the power of God to love like that. He's called us to a higher form of love. So it requires courage to love because love is risky, isn't it? For in it we make ourselves and our whole hearts vulnerable, don't we? Vulnerable to pain. And we've had enough pain. We don't want any more pain, so some folks live to minimize or avoid all pain because it hurts so much. So this is how love kind of works. So if I say I love you, what are you supposed to do? Just let it hang? That's nice. Well, thanks. Or, I knew that. But no, how does the game work? So if I say, I love you, what are you supposed to say? Okay, it's kind of hanging there. All right. But we know how it works, right? And if you don't say it back, oh, man, what's going on? And so it's hanging, and my hearts are hurting, and I can't know if I can take that or not. And so love is vulnerable. Love is risky. We're even out here. If I say hi to someone, they don't say hi back. Man, it hurts. So I don't know if I'm going to say hi anymore. If I smile at you, you frown at me. Boy, that hurts. I don't know if I'm going to smile at you anymore. If I look at you, but you look at me, and then you turn your head away, and that hurts. I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore. And that's how oftentimes we live. We're going to minimize hurt or minimize pain so we don't have to experience anymore. I don't know. I've had thoughts sometimes like this. Why? And sometimes I ask God, why does life have to hurt so bad? I don't know if I can take it. It hurts so bad. How come it has to hurt so bad? Courageous people have learned how to move forward in spite of pain. So it hurts. So what? Robert Frost has a poem entitled The Road Not Taken. It ends like this. It says, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one last traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So this fork on the right is to love everyone all the time. They become more like God and to be obedient to His word. The path on the left is to love some of the people some of the time, depending upon numerous factors, including how do they treat me, how much do we agree upon important issues, and the like. The path to the right is going to require courage because love, we may not be loved in return, and that will hurt because I've thought it through, I've been through it before, and I want to go through it again. Path to the left requires no courage because it's a sometimes love based on circumstances which allows me to protect my heart from vulnerability. Path to the right requires a change of heart. Path to the left, no change required. Path to the right requires God. Path to the left does not. The path to my right, my heart will grow larger and softer. As time goes on, path to the left, my heart will grow smaller and harder. It will shrink. From the path to the right will flow the springs of life. Path to the left, basically a dried up creek bed of dust. Don't be addicted to the safety and the avoidance of pain. In life, pain will find you. Let it. So you're scared. We're all scared. It's okay. Someone wrote this: I asked for strength, God gave me difficulties to face. I asked for wisdom, God gave me problems to solve. I asked for courage, God gave me danger to overcome. I asked for love, God gave me troubled people to help. I asked for favors, God gave me opportunities. I received nothing I wanted, but I received everything that I needed. Final thought is, everything you love will probably be lost, but in the end, love will return in another way. Would you pray with me right now? Lord, thank you for your goodness to us, and in spite of all these things, you are with us, every one of us. Therefore, we will not fear. We will not fear evil. We will not fear anything, any person, because you walk with us. You sustain us. You comfort us. You give us courage. You take care of issues that we can't. You always give us things that are too big for us to handle, because then you get involved. So we thank you for your love for us, so we can love others even when it hurts. Pray it now in Christ's name. Amen.
All right, church, let's read our Great Commission together. Matthew 28, 19 through 20. Go therefore,
make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I commanded. And behold,
all right, church, let's love God, love people, and make disciples. Have an amazing Sunday.